starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, and welcome to the Ohio Department of Taxation's preparing for the 2023 individual and school district income tax filing season. My name is Tiffany, and we're going to go ahead and jump right on in. So some important things to mention here is that the information presented in this presentation is accurate as of the date of this presentation, so any legislative or legal changes that take place after the date of this presentation may change the accuracy of this content. Additionally, changes to facts and circumstances may impact any answers provided herein. So please contact the department with any direct questions at the number below. And some things I would like to mention is that throughout this presentation, if you have any questions, you can go ahead and enter them in the chat. We do have people on standby to answer any questions you may have. And there is a link to the PowerPoint, so you can go ahead and follow along with me if you would like to do that as well. So we do have a pretty lengthy agenda today, so I'm going to go ahead and jump right on in. So what's new for the 23 tax year? So some important dates to go over is that back in January of 2024, we opened up filing season. The deadline is coming up on April 15th of 2024, and we also have that payment deadline on April 15th of 2024. We have the extension filing deadline coming up in October of 24, but just because you have an extension to file doesn't mean you have the extension to pay. So any tax liabilities would need to be paid by that deadline of April 15th of 2024. Some more new things for 23 is that we have some OH tax eServices, the Ohio Universal Payment Coupon, and a redesign of the school district income tax return, and we will discuss those more in detail later on in the presentation. We do have some important law changes. So there is the East Pass Sign train derailment deduction, the Ohio Adoption Grant deduction, the 529 plan deduction, and the beginning farmers credit, and some housing related credits. We're not going to go over those today in this presentation, but there is a presentation on our website from Reagan Lewis where he goes way more into detail about those. So let's go over some different resources we have for filing. So on the Ohio Department of Taxation's website, we have the OH Tax eServices. We have Pilot, which is a digital assistant where you can ask questions and get some answers right away. We have our self-help tutorials. We have our instruction booklet online, our frequently asked questions or FAQs. We have some tax alerts, information releases, and we also have the Ohio Virtual Tax Academy. So some filing options is there's electronic filing, which is our recommended option. So there is the OH Tax eServices. It's free to file through our website. There's tax preparation softwares like H&R Block, TurboTax, Jackson Hewitt, things along those lines. You can get a paid preparer, or you can use the Volunteer Income Tax Assistant Program, Tax Counseling for the Elderly, or AARP. I will say that with the last three mentioned here that there is some qualifications, so you want to make sure that you qualify for those before trying to use them. Next, there is paper filing, where you can download the forms on our website, or you can call the number here and get them mailed to your house. So let's go ahead and go over the OTax eServices. This is a new thing that we started in September of last year. So what you can do here is file original and amended returns. You can view and make payments online. We have the support ID or the screen share, and an important thing for that is that the support ID and the screen sharing is just for the OH tax. So if you have anything else opened on your computer or any other tabs, we cannot see that. We can only see what is on the OH tax tab. We also have the tax preparer access. So if your preparer would like access to your account to maybe view any payments or file your return, they can do that there. You can view any outstanding liabilities you may have. You can respond to any notices that we send. You can request to get your transcripts or any wage statements. You can also send and receive secure messages as well, and you can also check your refund status. So let's go ahead and talk about the OTax eServices registration. So what you'll need here is an OH ID, and if you don't have an OH ID, you'll have to create one, but you may have one and not realize it. So if you register through the BMV online, you have an OH ID, you'll just have to go ahead and create the eServices portion. And anyone who had online services prior to the September 5th, 2023, you would have to create a new account, which is where you would need the OHID and the eServices account. So let's go ahead and talk about how to prepare to file. So you're going to need a completed federal tax return. You're going to need all wage and income statements that you have, so any W-2s, 1099s, K-1s. You want to make sure you have all of those prepared and ready. You want to make sure you obtain any credit carry forward amounts or estimated payment amounts you may have. You want to have your driver's license available, and if you plan on getting direct deposit, which is definitely recommended, you'll want to have that bank account and your routing number readily available. And also, if you have a spouse or any dependents, you want to make sure that you have their social security number and date of birth. So let's go ahead and go over some tips for tax filings. So what to do is you want to file electronically if you can. It's fast, easy, and free on our website. If you file by paper, you want to make sure that you use the whole dollar amounts, so rounding up or down if necessary. And if you have any errors on your return after you printed your paper filing, you'll want to make sure that you go back to the PDF or to the software you were using, correct the issue there, and then reprint the entirety of the return. You want to make sure that you make all of your extension payments by the deadline. You make sure you claim all of your withholding, estimated payments, or any of your credit carry forwards. And if you're sending in your return, make sure you include all of your schedules, worksheets, or wage and income statements. And just make sure before filing that you have received all of your wage and income statements. And if you haven't, contact the employers or anyone you may need to get that information. So what not to do? You want to make sure that you don't include any cents on your paper filing return. Don't cross off any of those items like I mentioned before. If you file by paper, you could only receive a paper check, so don't expect any kind of direct deposits. Don't paper clip, staple your return together, just do a loose leaf into the envelope. And then you don't want to use any other color besides black. Let's go ahead and go over some common deductions. So we have our taxable Social Security benefits. So if you have any Social Security included in your federal adjusted gross income, you can go ahead and deduct that amount on the schedule of adjustments. The next one is going to be the employee compensation in Ohio by a non-resident of a neighboring state. So if you are an Ohio resident, this deduction is not for you. It is for anyone who is a non-resident of Ohio but worked in Ohio while living in Indiana, Kentucky, Michigan, Pennsylvania, or West Virginia. Let's go ahead and go over another common deduction is the military. So if military pay received by Ohio residents and they're stationed outside of Ohio, we do not tax that income. You would go ahead and deduct that income off the schedule of adjustments. But you want to make sure that all of the following are true. So you want to make sure that the income is included in your federal adjusted gross income. You want to make sure that you receive this income while stationed outside of Ohio. Make sure you're a resident of Ohio and that you are in active duty status in the U.S. Army, the Air Force, Navy, Marine Corps, or the Coast Guard, or in reserve components thereof of the National Guard. And another thing is if you are a military spouse that earned income outside of Ohio, you may be eligible for the resident credit, but the income also has to be included in your federal adjusted gross income, and you'd have to be a resident of Ohio. And I know the military can be a little bit confusing, so we do have some flowcharts here for you to look at. And you can also go to the link on the page here, and it gives it way more in detail. Let's go ahead and go over some common credits that we have. So there is the senior citizen credit, and all must be true to qualify. So your modified adjusted gross income, less the exemptions, it has to be $100,000 or less. You have to be 65 or older by the end of the tax year. So for example, for the current filing year for 23, you'd have to be 65 at the end of tax year 2023. You also have to make sure that you have not taken the Ohio lump sum distribution credit as well. The next credit is the retirement income credit, and all of the following must be true. Your modified adjusted gross income less the exemptions is less than $100,000, and you've had to receive income from a pension, profit sharing, retirement plan, and this is included in the Ohio adjusted gross income. You also cannot have taken the Ohio lump sum retirement credit as well. And I know we've mentioned the modified adjusted gross income a few times. You may be wondering what that is. So what the modified adjusted gross income is it's your Ohio adjusted gross income, your line 3, plus any business income deduction you may have from the Ohio schedule of adjustments, line 12. So let's go ahead and go over some of the wage statements that you may have. So we have a W-2 here, and some important boxes to look at is your box 2 for your federal withholding. Then you have your box 15 for which is the state of the withholding and the account number. Box 16 is going to have your state wages, and the box 17 is going to have your Ohio income tax withholding. Next, we have our 1099-R, which a 1099-R is a distribution to any person who has had received anything over $10 from a profit sharing, retirement plans, IRAs, annuities, pensions, anything along those sorts. An important boxes to look at here is your box 14 for that state income tax withheld, and then box 15, which has the state withheld and your ID number. Next, we have our 1099-Gs, which the Ohio Department of Taxation issues those out to report any overpayments. And those overpayments will include credit carry forwards, use tax, offsets, or donations. And the Ohio Department of Taxation is required to issue 1099-Gs if the taxpayer itemized on their federal return and if their combined refund was greater than $10. A little bit more about 1099-Gs is if you received one, you want to review the federal return instructions for reporting state tax refunds. The department mailed out those copies on January 8th. If you haven't received it, you can either create an eServices account and get that electronically, or you can call into the numbers showing here to receive one by paper. And if any portion of that 1099-G that you did receive is included in your federal tax return, it can be deducted off of the schedule of adjustments. So let's go ahead and talk about school district tax. So school district taxes are enacted by the voter approval for the people living in that school district. School district tax is something different, and it's in addition to any federal, state, or city or property taxes. And school district taxes is taxed on where you live and not where you work at. So taxpayers who live in a taxing school district must file the school district return or the SD 100 if you earned income and you have a tax liability. And what we have listed below are some new taxing school districts for 23, and we have 2 coming up in 2024. And the Ohio Department of Taxation only collects and administers the school district tax on behalf of the school districts. So when should you file the school district or the SD 100? If you live in a taxing school district. So no matter of your age or employment status, so this includes students, minors, and retirees, if you earned income in that school district and you have a liability, you have to file the return. If you have withholding for a school district that you do not live in, you'll want to file the SD 100 to receive a refund for the erroneous withheld, and then you'll want to contact your employer to fill out the new IT-4 so they can stop that withholding. If you have no withholding, but you should, you'll want to contact that employer, get a new IT-4 filled out so you can go ahead and get that withholding started. But you'll also want to start making maybe estimated payments so that you don't get any fees or penalties by the end of the year. So let's talk about school district tax earned income. So this income is only taxed with compensations as in wages, salaries, and tips, and self-employment from sole proprietorships. So this isn't going to include any income like retirement, interest, dividends, capital gains, and unemployments. And the income that's taxed here is what's in the modified adjusted gross income like we mentioned earlier, which is your Ohio gross income line 3 plus your business income deductions on line 12 of the schedule of adjustments. So with traditional income, this uses the modified adjusted gross income less your exemptions to calculate the school district income tax base. So all of your income is included, any retirement or anything in that Ohio or in the modified adjusted gross income will be taxed here no matter of the age, employment status, or anything like that as well. So we do have a new school district or an SD 100 redesign for 2023. So coming up for 23, you will only be filing one SD 100 or one school district return. So even if you have multiple school districts, you will only be filing the one return. You just want to make sure that you complete the schedule or the school district residency to account for the entirety of the year. And if you lived in a school district that is a non-resident of Ohio, so for example, you moved out of Ohio, you'll want to use 9999 as the school district number. And for tax years 22 and prior, you'll still want to file multiple school district 100. The new one is only for 23 and forward. So let's go ahead and look at some W-2s for school district withholding. You can see here that the withholding can either be found in box 19 and 20 or in box 14. And you're going to see here that it has the SD initials and the school district number, and that's how you can find out that it's the school district withholding. So there are some other taxes that can show up in box 19. So you can have city tax, which is indicated typically by the city name or an abbreviation of it, like shown here on the screen. And an employer may report both city and school district tax with the same name. There are some listed below, like Pickerington, Fairborn, Lancaster, and Reynoldsburg. And if you are unsure of any withholding on your W-2, go ahead and contact your employer and they should be able to clear that up for you. And as a reminder for city tax, it's where you work at, and school district is where you live. So contact the city where you live to see if you need to file the city taxes. Some other things you may see in box 19 is RETA, so the Regional Income Tax Agency. It's a 4-digit number that starts with an R, which can be confusing or look similar to the school districts, but we have some examples here. So we have the R0203, the R0907, and R0909. These are all RETA taxes, or they would be for the city taxes. They would not be for your school districts. But again, if you have any questions with that, you can go ahead and contact your employer and they can clarify that for you for what the withholding is on your W-2. So some more taxes that can be shown in box 19. City and school district taxes may be reported in box 19 and in 20. So if you're unsure, like I mentioned before, please contact your employer, fill out the new IT-4 form if need be, so you can get the proper withholding. So if you need to figure out what school district you actually live in, you can go ahead and use the finder, which is on our website. This is used to determine your school district and your school district tax rate. So you can go ahead and either use the school district income tax or the tax district summary. The district summary will give you a general idea of all the different taxes, where the school district income tax will just show you your school district. So what you're seeing here on this screen is what happens when you look at just your school district. So you'll want to search by the entirety of your address. That helps you get the most correct tax, because depending if you live on the borders of school districts, you could get multiple different locations. And another thing you want to pay attention to is the address, or not the address, I'm sorry, the date. So if you're looking either for current years or for prior years, you'll want to make sure that the date is correct. So for here, we have it as December 29th of 23. You typically want to go maybe January 1st of whatever tax year that you're looking for to verify if it was taxing or not. Because like I mentioned before, we do have some new up and coming school districts. So you want to make sure you're looking at the correct year. And if you're still unsure, or if multiple school districts are popping up, what you can go ahead and do is go to your county auditor, and whatever's on the county auditor is what's going to trump the finder, and that will be correct. And if you find that our finder is incorrect, you can email the address here so we can get that corrected. So let's talk about refunds for direct deposit. So you want to allow up to 15 business days after filing, but additional time may be required depending if your return needs manual review. Electronic filers, you can go ahead and either have a direct deposit or a paper check. The recommended option, though, is still going to be a direct deposit. It's more secure and convenient. It's much faster than a paper check. If you do not see your refund, you'll want to try to do the check your refund status. Maybe check with your preparer, contact your bank, and always review your account activity a few days before and after the processing date of your refund. Depending on the bank, it could post a few days before or after. Refunds for paper checks, I would allow up to 25 business days after electronically filing. Again, additional time may be required depending if the return needs manual review. And if you allow up to 10 weeks after paper filing, if you're looking, because you can only have a paper check, and depending on, if we need additional time for manual review and just for USPS or anything like that, we'll just want to report at least 10 weeks. And for paper checks, you want to make sure that those are cashed within 90 days. If they are not cashed within that time frame, contact the department so we can go ahead and get those reissued. So let's talk about like how to respond to a notice. So if documentation is requested by the Ohio Department of Taxation, you can either go on our website and create an account through eServices, and you can respond to a notice, or you can go to the website here and you don't have to have an account. You'll just go ahead and go to the respond a letter or notice, enter in the documentation, upload it there, and you can still mail those if you would like, but the preferred is electronically just for faster processing times. So let's talk about some payments. So all payments are due by April 15th of 24. You can pay electronically, either by a credit or debit card, but there is a convenience fee of 2.65% or $1, whichever is greater. That convenience fee doesn't go to the Ohio Department of Taxation. It goes to the third party, which is taking that payment. Or you can do electronic check, which is your account and routing information, and that is completely free. One thing I do want to mention here for the payments is that it's only one taxpayer per payment. There will no longer be joint payments. So if you file jointly and you end up owing, you will only make that payment due to the primary taxpayer or to the person first listed on the return. If you're doing a paper check or a money order, please do not mail any cash, by the way. We only do a paper check or money order, only put one taxpayer per that voucher or do the coupon. You want to include the tax year and the last four of the Social Security number in the memo line of the check or money order. Make payable to the Ohio Treasurer of State for the individual income tax or to the school district income tax for any school districts that may be owed. You'll mail the coupon and the payment to the address on the coupon. So let's go ahead and go over the Ohio Universal Payment Coupon. I've mentioned it a few times throughout here. This is something new for 2023. It is replacing all of our old payment vouchers. So it's going to replace those IT 40Ps, the amended payments, the XPs, the school districts. All of them are going to be the same coupon at this point. So, and this was effective as of September 5th of 2023. And again, with these, it's only one Social Security number or one person per payment. There will no longer be any joint payments. So this is an example of the individual income tax payment coupon. And then next we have another one for the Ohio Universal Payment Coupon for the school districts. They look very similar. The only difference is that for the school district, you can see that it asks for the school district number, and it does have a different address as well to mail that payment to. So let's go ahead and talk about our assessment delivery. So as of October of 23, the notice of assessment or legal bills are no longer required to be sent certified mail. The department started sending those assessments out via regular mail on January 2nd of 2024. So if you have any questions or you need to get a hold of us, here's different ways to do so. You can either send us a secure message through your eServices account. You can call us at the number listed here. Our hours are Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, excluding any holidays. And then we have our visitor center. So the visitor center is open during normal business hours at 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, excluding any holidays. And we do have our address listed below for anyone who may need to stop on by. And go ahead, I would recommend to follow us on social media. So we do tend to post about anything important coming up with taxes, or if we have any more webinars or anything like that coming up, we will let everyone know about it through our social media. All right, so I do have some common questions that have been asked throughout the filing season so far. So I'm going to go ahead and go through some of those. And as a reminder, if you guys do have any questions, please go ahead and put those in the chat. We do have people here to answer those. So one of the questions I have here is, I received a W-2G from Michigan for casino winnings for the jackpot. Is this taxable to Ohio, and can I deduct it under the employee compensation because Michigan is a neighboring state? So that's a really good question, a common one that we do get. So gambling and casino winnings are not counted as employee compensation. If the income is taxable to Michigan or any other state besides Ohio, then it could be qualified for the resident credit on your Ohio return. So we have another one here. It says, I had a part-time job for Lowe's while I was stationed in Washington. Since I was active duty at the time, can I include that amount with my military income, and can I take the resident credit? So any income earned outside of military pay cannot be deducted on the schedule of adjustments with that military pay. If you pay taxes on the income to another state, then you may be eligible for the resident credit. Otherwise, as an Ohio resident, it would just be taxable to Ohio. So here's another common question that we do get. So I'm a college student at OSU and I stay on campus, but in the summer times I go back to my parents' house in Pickerington. How do I file my school district return? So this is a pretty common question, not just for OSU students, but just for college students in general. So college students are considered domiciled with their parents. So even though you spend most of your year either in Columbus or at the school, you would still be considered domiciled in Pickerington So you would file the school district return indicating you were a full year resident of whatever school district, and for this example, Pickerington for that year. So we have another, I have another one here. It says, I filed a joint return and we owe taxes to Ohio. Do I have to send in separate payments for the two of us? So no. So if you filed marrying filing joint and you owe the tax due, you would just send in the payment with the primary taxpayer or the first one who's listed on the return. And another common question we get for payments is that if you make estimated payments throughout the year and you're not sure what your filing status will be, you can go ahead and make those estimated payments as marrying filing separate, or just singular as different taxpayers. And if you end up filing as marrying filing joint, you'll just claim the payments all together and they would all be together on the joint return, even if the payments are made as separate. Another common one that we do get is that I moved from Pickerington to Columbus City Schools during the year. Since Columbus schools don't have a tax, where do I put my residency? So you would go ahead and fill out that schedule of residency and you would just list the dates where you lived in each school district. So on that residency, you're going to put that you lived in Pickerington from this day to this day, and then you lived in Columbus from this day to this day, so that you get taxed properly. So we have another one, a pretty common one too, is I live in a taxing school district, but my employer withheld for a different taxing school district. When I fill out the form this year, will I get a refund from one school district and pay for the other? So with the newly designed form, it allows the total tax withheld to be allocated against the total tax liability. So if after with the withholding you still owe for the school district, then you would need to make the payment amount. But if the withholding from the erroneous school district is higher than what you owe, you'll receive the refund of the difference. So you wouldn't have to receive a larger refund just to pay some of it back. We're going to do that for you and just give you the proper refund amount. So those are the common questions I have here. I'm going to go ahead and keep this webinar open until 7, and we will have someone here to answer any questions that you guys may have. But you guys have a great rest of your night.